Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. It is Mike's Talks and Thoughts here, and today I'm going to be doing a Game of Thrones characters tier list. Now, I recently just finished Game of Thrones here, and it was actually very difficult to find myself a really good tier list. But for this one, I found a really good one of mainly all the characters I want to talk about. There's going to be one character that's missing. I didn't feel like going through like all of the characters and all the side characters. So I found a really good list, a balanced list that has everyone that I wanted to talk about in here. And yeah, let's get started here. So first here we have Alistair Thorne. This is a guy who, is at the Night's Watch and, pretty much stabs Jon in the back. I'm putting this dude in F tier. This dude has like no redeeming qualities. This dude is just a piece of shit. Just gets on your nerves every scene. Yeah, F tier. Next tier though, we have one of the best characters in the entire show, and that's Arya Stark, and she's an S tier character. I freaking loved Arya ever since I saw her in the first episode all the way until her last episode. It was just so great. Um, Arya is amazing, and yeah, S tier. Next to it, Balon Greyjoy. For me, D tier. This dude was really annoying to me. Couldn't really stand him. The way he treats Theon is just horrible. I get, like, he wants him to be loyal to family and how he's kind of a part of the Starks. But then he just is a really annoying guy and really on Theon's case and never really liked him. So, D tier. Next to we have Uncle Ben, and this is someone who actually had to text my friend. I just couldn't remember this dude's face. Um, but yeah, this dude's pretty awesome. But I'm gonna put him just in the B tier. I mean, you only see him in a few scenes. Of course, this is Ned's brother, Ned Stark's brother, and he's really crucial in big moments when they're fighting the White Walkers. So for me, B tier. Next here we have Beric Dondarrion. This dude is just great, especially in the later seasons, of course. And you find out, of course, about the Lord of Light and how, he gets brought back to life all of these times. 6 times he gets brought back to life. And, you first see him when he's having a confrontation with the Hound. And this dude turns into one of the best characters later on. But I'm going to put him just in the B tier. He's a really solid character, but was anything that blew me away? Not really. Next we have Bran Stark. Now, this guy is very polarizing because his character, just himself, is just so bland and just so boring. But I actually am someone who really does like his visions. I love the flashback scene, of course, with Ned and Arthur Dayne. That is one of the best. The Sword of the Morning versus Ned and all his people, and it's so great. That's like one of my favorite scenes in the entire show. I just love the flashbacks with Bran. But for me, Bran, of course, his ending, not really a big fan of it, but I'm gonna just put him in the B tier. Next tier we have Brienne of Tarth, and she's going in S tier, man. She was freaking awesome. I loved her relationship with Jamie, just their friendship. When it turned into something more than that, I wasn't really the biggest fan of it. But Brienne, she's a freaking badass in this show. Ever since the first episode you see her, she's just such a badass. She's such a fighter and a warrior. She's just so awesome. So for me, S tier. Next tier we have Bronn of the Blackwater. He is going to go in A. He's very loyal with Tyrion through most of the series. And, he talks with Jamie. He mainly works with the Lannisters. And, was very crucial in a trial by combat for Tyrion. And this dude's just pretty funny. I love a lot of the interactions he has, like while he's in a brothel or talking with Tyrion. He's pretty good character, so I'm going to put him in the A tier. This guy, this was this guy who helped the Hound take the Hound in. They kind of build this community up. I can't remember his name exactly, but I'm gonna put him in the B tier. He was a nice character. Um, not a lot of scenes with him, but just a solid all around character. And then next tier we have Byron Tully, of course. Very big ally with the Starks. Has a big scene with him and his defending of River Run, but for me, just a C tier character. He was okay, not very recognizable at all. Again, another person I had to look up beforehand. I just couldn't put the face and the name together. So yeah, C tier. Next tier, Catelyn Stark. I'm gonna put her in the B tier. A very loving mother in the series. Of course, just a great lady and one of the best in the Stark group. And next tier, okay, I'm literally going to create a new row. We are naming it the Cersei tier. I'm telling you, whenever I saw her on screen, my blood would be boiling. My veins would be popping out. That is how much I hate her so much. She's got to be the worst character or one of the worst characters ever put on TV. Now, I have nothing against the actress. Lena Headey plays a great job. She's supposed to be hated, but just all the shit that she caused throughout everyone in the entire show, it's just so infuriating, man. I fucking hated Cersei so much. She is below F tier. She's like so bad. Deserves a whole tier of her own because that's how bad Cersei is. The worst character by far on the show. It's not even close. Um, you know, and just the way things end for her is just so unsatisfying. Like, just all the shit that she caused through everyone in the entire show, and that's how it ends. It's just really unsatisfying. I can't stand her character. She makes me so angry every time I even look at her. So for me, she's just in her own tier, the Cersei tier. But next tier, one of my favorites in the entire show. I've loved her since the first episode I saw her in. And that's gonna be Daenerys Targaryen. S tier. You cannot put her in S tier. I know what they kind of did with her at the end was just they kind of ruined a lot of her character development throughout the series, but I still love her. You know, you just got to take that with a grain of salt and look past that. And she is just S tier. I love her entire journey. One thing that I really wish they would have done sooner, of course, was had her invasion a lot sooner than they did. I feel like they dragged that out way too long. And yeah, so I'm going to put her in the S tier. She's just so great. Now, next tier, we have one of the princes from the Martell family. This is someone who takes over after Oberyn. And for me, I'm going to put him in the C tier. Pretty much all you see with him is his interactions with Oberyn's wife, and then, of course, with Jaime and Bronn. So C tier. Now, next tier, we have Eddard Ned Stark here. And for me, I know that he's not seen a lot, but he is just so integral to this entire show. He goes in the S tier. A lot of the flashback he has, all of the memories. He is just so central to this entire show. And he's such an honorable man. Of course, that's what he's known for, being honorable, true to his word. And he is an S tier character. Now, next tier we have Elaria Sand. Of course, she's someone who's married to Oberyn in the show. And for me, C tier. She's someone who really plots on a lot for revenge. And, the way things go with her, she's an okay character. I'm going to just put her in the C tier. Euron Greyjoy, F tier. I don't think we have to say much about that. Gendry is awesome, but again, not seen a lot until the very end of the show. So, B tier. Gilly here goes in the B tier as well. She was great with Sam. I really like how Sam, helps her out. And I like her character. Nothing wrong with her. She just doesn't have a lot of really big, impactful moments on the show, but she's just a really nice person, really nice character. Grey Worm. Grey Worm is also going to go in the B tier. This dude is a kick-ass fighter, man. This dude's fucking crazy. Probably the best of the unsolid soldiers, who fight for Daenerys pretty much throughout the entire show. They're always loyal. And yeah, B tier. The High Sparrow, fuck this dude, F tier, fuck him, bro. I hated this dude so much. Way he just like tells all this bullshit to everyone and how he thinks he's like in control of everyone. F tier, fuck that dude. Next here we have Hodor. It's so sad what happens with Hodor, and you find out why he just constantly keeps saying Hodor. But I loved his character. This dude like helped out Bran so much. Like Bran, like how many miles this dude had to drag Bran through is insane. Like this dude's a machine. So he's gonna go in the A tier. Now next tier we have Jaime, and Jaime for me, season 1 Jaime didn't like at all. Season 2 still didn't like him. Didn't really care for him. Season 3 is where he has one of the best redemption stories in the entire show. Turns into one of the most likable characters all the way until the end. But I would put him in S tier. But something that like him just keep constantly going back to Cersei puts him down to A tier for me. But I love Jaime's character. If he just would have broken off from Cersei and kept true to the end, would have been S tier for me. This guy has one of the best redemption stories of any show I've ever seen. Jaime's arc in season 3 with Brienne, his relationship with Brienne, like their friendship, one of the best aspects in the entire show. So for me, I'm gonna put him in A tier, but could have easily put in that S tier. Next tier we have no one. This guy, helps Arya, and this dude's just badass. When she's in King's Landing, she tells him about people she wants murdered, and he can do it, of course, because he is the faceless. He can be faceless. He can turn into anyone who he wants to. And for me, he's going to go in the A tier. I think this guy is very interesting and very mysterious character, but just not quite on that S tier for me. Next tier, we have Lord Commander Mormont, and for me, I'm going to put him in the B tier. He's very fondly talked about amongst the Men of the Night Watch. And of course, he's connected with Jorah because Jorah is his son. And yeah, B tier. Now, everyone loves to hate on Joffrey the most in this show, but bro, even Joffrey's not even on the Cersei tier. Joffrey's F tier though. Fuck that dude, Joffrey. Joffrey's a piece of shit. Deserved everything that he got. And yeah, Joffrey F tier. What a horrible human being, man. What a horrible person. Next tier, Jon Snow. Gotta be S tier. It has got to be S tier. One of the best characters in the entire show. His arc from the Night's Watch until the end for him is really great. Jon Snow, such a beloved character in the show. I really think they could have done a lot better for his character in the end, of course. But cannot deny he is S tier. Next here we have Jorah Mormont. He is awesome as well. He's another one like Jaime, bordering on S or A. He's going to go in the A tier for me. This dude is just so awesome. He serves Daenerys. And, of course, he's really known for his father. And this dude's just a really skilled fighter, even though he's old. And just a really good fighter. Really awesome dude. Khal Drogo, mainly a guy from season 1. This guy's a badass. He kind of rolls over the Dothraki. I'm going to put him in the B tier. I like him. I definitely do like him. I know a lot of people really like him. But for me, just not a lot of much stuff past season 1 to put him up higher on this list. But he is a great character. B tier. Now, Olenna Tyrell. I loved her character. She just, like, the way she always talked to everyone. Talked down to Cersei. She was great. One of my favorites in the Tyrell house. A tier. And, of course, you find out what she does later on, which is so satisfying. So, yeah. A tier. Next tier, we have Littlefinger, Peter Baelish. I'm going to put him in the B tier. He's a very unlikable person, but I just find him so kind of cool in the fact that he plays both sides. Like, this dude, he is such... You cannot trust this dude. If there was one person in the entire show besides Cersei that you cannot trust, it is Littlefinger. Littlefinger, he will just switch up like a quick snap, man. That dude he just plays all the different sides, tries to make everyone trust him, and then that ultimately leads to what happens with him in the end. So, B tier for me. Loras Tyrell, B tier. Again, another really skilled fighter, another one of my favorites in the Tyrell house. B tier. Liza Aaron, F tier. Fuck her, man. You find out what happens with her husband. I hate her son as well. I'll get to talking about him later. Not a really big fan of the Aaron House. They only have one redeeming quality, the Aaron House. And of course, if you've seen the show, you know what that is. But other than that, I hate her. F tier. Now we have Maester Aemon Targaryen. Now, of course, besides Daenerys and Viserys, he's one of the last Targaryens alive at the start of the show. And he's going to go in B tier. This guy doesn't really do much other than, kind of just chill at the Night's Watch. But this guy is very insightful, got a lot of wisdom, very old. You know, he really helps out Sam a lot in his journey. So for me, he's going to go in B tier. Now I have Maester Luwin. This is someone who is involved with the Starks. I believe this is Ned or Catelyn Stark's father. I can't remember. I know it's the Stark's grandfather. But he's going to go in C tier for me. He's a pretty good character, but not much eventful happens with him. Marjorie Tyrell. Love Marjorie. She's really great. Natalie Dormer plays her great. I'm going to put her in the B tier. She could possibly go up to A tier. I really did like Marjorie a lot. I think she should have been the rightful queen, of course. Definitely a lot better queen than Cersei ever was. So, yeah. B tier. Missandei. Now, she is so polarizing because before season 6, she's F tier. She's fucking F tier. It's not even a debate. But she gets a little bit better in the later seasons. So I'm going to put her in the D tier. I know that she could probably go a little bit higher. But I couldn't. Besides Cersei, for the most part, in the first few seasons, she was my least favorite character. Her, Cersei, and Joffrey were the lowest of the low. And I'm going to put her in D tier, though. Next up here, we have Missandei. She's pretty good character. I'm going to put her in the B tier. Her and Grey Worm's relationship. Her with Daenerys is great. And you can tell that Daenerys really cares for her, of course, by the actions that happens with her after what happens with Missandei. And yeah, B tier. Next here we have Oberyn Martell, and one of my favorite fights in the entire show is with Oberyn, of course, the Mountain versus the Viper. One of the best episodes. It's easily in my top 5 episodes of the entire show. Oberyn is so great. Such a freaking skilled fighter this dude is, man. This dude can really fight, man. He's so skilled, he's so agile, he's so skillful, and it really shows how being quick and fast with your strikes is a lot better than being, the most powerful or the most strongest. But, cockiness is what leads to his ultimate end. And it's so sad to see because I really liked Oberyn. He's going to go in the A tier. Next tier we have Osha. This is someone who, helps out Bran a lot throughout the series. And for me, she's going to go in B tier. She's with Bran, Hodor, and the Reeds, and she's just solid. Just goes in that B tier. Same with Podrick. He's a squire. He helps out Tyrion. Then he goes with Brienne, and he's kind of like a weakling. And then there's a really funny scene with Podrick, of course, when they end up buying him something at the brothel, and then you find out something kind of interesting about him. That's pretty just a funny scene, and I'm going to go in the B tier. Next tier we have Qyburn, and for me, as a character, I think I'm going to put him in C tier, but this dude is really interesting. He could go in the B tier. I kind of want to know more about this guy's backstory. He just seems very interesting. So basically with Qyburn, he's someone who was at the Citadel, but he gets expelled, and then, of course, after the mountain. After the mountain's fate, he kind of comes in and works all this dark magic and these spells that like even Grandmaster Pycelle doesn't even know. Like this guy's like he's kind of like a Voldemort kind of how he kind of works with this dark magic, and he's a very creepy kind of guy. But I'm gonna put him in C tier. Fuck Ramsay Bolton, F tier. Another one of the most hated characters on the entire show. Fuck Ramsay Bolton, and yeah, fuck that dude. Another guy who I just have no clue about. I'm gonna put him in C tier. Just don't know who this guy is. If someone could let me know in the comments, that'd be greatly appreciated. Renly Baratheon here. I'm gonna put him in the B tier. I thought he was a pretty good person. You know, uh, the fact though that he passed up on Marjorie is like, man, come on. But you know, it's interesting with him. You know, finding out about his story. You know, you find out about his sexuality, and I thought he would have made a cool king. You know, Renly is pretty cool. So B tier. Rickon, C tier. Um, so for me, Rickon, you know, he doesn't really have much going on. All you really know about him is that he's a Stark. And then one thing that just infuriates me about him is, of course, the scene where they tell him to run, and he doesn't run in a zigzag to try and avoid being hit. I don't get why people don't do that. That's what you're supposed to do. You never run in a straight line like that. That's just a nitpick that I have about his character. But yeah, C tier. Robb Stark. I'm gonna put him in the A tier. Great character. You know, wish we could have seen a lot more scenes with Robb, but Robb was great. You know, A tier character, one of the best Starks in the show. King Robert Baratheon. I'm gonna put him in the A tier. You know, he's a pretty cool leader. You see him in the first season a lot. But for me, it's just they talk about Robert in this fact that he's such a great fighter and he's such a great person who conquered the Targaryens. But it's like when you see him, it's like this dude could fight. Like, he doesn't even look like he could hold a sword. I just really feel like they kind of I've never read the books, but I know they really talk extensively of how great Robert was as a fighter and he led that rebellion. But I don't know. For me, his character just doesn't seem like a fighter. He really just seems like a drunk guy, a fat drunk king who just sits around and just goes to brothels and just chills. Like this dude does not seem like any sort of a fighter to me. So he's A tier, but I feel like they could have done so much more justice with his character. Robin Aaron, F tier. Fuck that dude. The dude was literally sucking on his mom's titties when he was like 10 years old. Like this dude is so babied by Liza, and yeah, he just goes in the F tier. Just I just don't like Robin Aaron. He can't fight worth shit. Like this dude, yeah, just horrible. Roose Bolton, D tier. I didn't like him at all. Of course, you know his betrayals, but he was definitely a lot better than Ramsay ever was. Because fuck that dude, Ramsay Snow. Fuck him. No, he's not a fucking Bolton. Roose Bolton, D tier. Samwell Tarly. This dude is fucking amazing, man. Fuck it, man. I'm putting Sam in S tier. This dude is freaking awesome, man. You know, him and Jon have such a great relationship in the Night's Watch. And then, you know, when he goes on to be a maester for the Night's Watch, it's so great. You know, him and Jorah, that scene is awesome. Samwell Tarly, man. This dude is just such a great, lovable person. S tier, man. Sansa Stark. Now, I know I have a friend who really hates Sansa a lot. And I have one friend that kind of likes her. I think she's just a B tier character. She never really got on my nerves like crazy, but I never really liked her much at all. She's just going to go B tier, solid and okay. Now we have Barristan. This is someone who, you know, comes back and helps Daenerys. I know in the books and past he's described as one of the best swordsmen ever. But you don't really see that much in the show. Of course, he's a lot older. He's still a great fighter, but nothing like he was in his prime. You know, I've seen lists where he's like, you know, in the top 3 best swordsmen ever. So B tier. Next year we have Davos, and Davos is S tier, man. This dude is freaking phenomenal, man. Um, he really becomes really great in the later seasons. One of the just most likable people on the show. I love Davos, man. Davos is awesome. Next tier we have Shay, and Shay's gonna go in the C tier. It's so sad what happens with her and Tyrion. Um, just so sad what happens with that situation. But for me, C tier. Stannis Baratheon, B tier for me. You know, I think he's a good character. He's a very great military mind, but ultimately, it's his downfall in the end. Being very stubborn and not knowing how to wait. So yeah, B tier. Now, like I said before, I really wish that the Mountain was included on this list. He would be in probably S tier. I freaking love his character, even though he's supposed to be the bad guy. But someone who I like so much more is the Hound. The Hound is freaking S tier, man. The Hound is awesome. His relationship with Arya, like one of my favorites in the entire show. It's up there with Bran and Jamie. They work really well off of each other. They're so great together. I love their banter back and forth. And then of course what happens with the Hound and the Mountain. Just such a great scene. You know, they have an epic fight scene that is really great. He's an S tier character. This dude's a fucking badass fighter. The Hound, one of the best swordsmen in the entire show. Awesome. Theon Greyjoy. You know, this dude goes through a hell of a time, man, and he's gonna go in the B tier for me. You know, first, you know, he's with the Starks, and then he kind of goes back with the Greyjoys, and then you don't feel sorry for him. But then after all the shit that Ramsay puts him through, it's like, oh my god, man, they're taking this so far with Theon. And then, you know, he kind of has a redemption arc again with like what Jamie has, a really good redemption story. Put him in the B tier. And next year we have someone who I don't remember his name, but I know he's with the Brotherhood, of course, with Dondarrion and all those guys. You know, he goes and helps with the fight against the White Walkers. I'm gonna just put him in C tier. He's okay. Next year we have Tommen. I'm gonna put him in the B tier. You know, I really liked him and Marjorie's relationship. You know, I thought he was pretty decent. You know, not much else to him. Really nice guy, but he's not ruthless enough. So, just B tier. And it's kind of crazy, you know, what happens with him in the later seasons. Next year we have sort of the Wildlings leader, Thormund. This dude's fucking awesome, man, especially in the later seasons. I'm going to put him in the A tier. This dude's freaking awesome, man. Such a great character. So for me, gotta go in the A tier. My favorite character on the entire show, Tyrion Lannister, S tier. I freaking love Tyrion. There isn't a single soul who's seen Game of Thrones who doesn't like Tyrion, man. You can't hate on Tyrion. Tyrion's awesome, man. Such a great character. You know, his stories, his jokes, his alliances, so great. He's an S tier, my favorite character on the entire show. Tywin Lannister, thought he was a great character. I'm gonna put him in the B tier though, just because he's such an unlikable dude. But I like him. I think he's a really cool sort of villain for this show. And yeah, B tier. Next tier we have Varys, the Master of Whispers, the eunuch. A tier, man. I freaking love Varys. You know, it's really sad what happens with Varys, but him and Tyrion's relationship really great throughout the entire show. Varys is awesome. Just such a unique person on the show. Now we have Viserys Targaryen. You know, this guy, one of the last living Targaryens. I'm gonna put him in the C tier. This dude's a real asshole, you know, especially to his sister Daenerys. And yeah. Next we have Yara Greyjoy. I'm gonna put her in the B tier. You know, pretty much on that same tier as Theon. I liked her. I didn't like her at first for the longest time, but then she kind of grew on me in the later seasons. So yeah, B tier. And next tier we have Egret. This is someone who was very involved with Jon. And when Jon interacts with the wildlings, she's one of the wildlings. And yeah, I'm gonna put her in the B tier. I liked her character, liked her dynamics with Jon, and yeah. So yeah, that is the characters tiers for Game of Thrones. Now I would recap for you guys, but this is a very very long one here. Um, Game of Thrones, so great with its character lore and the world building in the show, so great. Like I said, the only character I wish that was on here was the Mountain, and he'd be an S tier. Um, yeah, so this is my Game of Thrones characters tiers. I hope you guys enjoy. Leave down below some of your S tier characters and F tier characters. I'd like to see who you guys think and like. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video.